Welcome everyone to Around the ACL. Michelle Thompson here with Trey Ryder and Jake Brannon, and we are going to discuss Open number 8 that just happened in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then we are going to get into some of the stuff that you told us you think about the future of cornhole, as well as some buy or sell. Jake, you are on the ground in New Orleans. Tell us what's going on over there.
I am, yeah. I flew straight from the Open in Albuquerque right down here to New Orleans. I flew in last night, and I'll say right off the bat, first initial reaction, it is sticky down here. The humidity is in the upper to mid 70%, with it also being right around 74, 75 degrees right now. Complete polar opposite from the dry, arid desert that was Albuquerque, New Mexico. So that transition was a little weird. It's I got to get back used to it. But man, I'll tell you what, having a blast so far. We passed the Superdome on our way in here. It was all lit up beautifully for the big game this weekend. It is so incredible that I get to do this. We went into the this giant expo center this morning to start setting up. We got a little bit of the ways done before I had to back out and come do this show. But man, this place is crazy. I've never been to New Orleans. I cannot wait to get out and experience it more. But it is going to be a fantastic week.
Wow, you hadn't been in New Orleans before, Jake?
First time ever in the state of Louisiana. I crossed 2 states off my list from in New Mexico and Louisiana. I've now been to 37 states. I'm pretty accomplished about that. But yeah, no, first time in New Orleans. I'm so excited to go do stuff.
All right. Well, Wednesday night we'll all go to
Don't you dare! Don't you dare even bring up no.
No.
How dare you?
Look, when I'm on my deathbed one day, when I way down the road, Michelle is going to be like, Trey was such a good guy, but that one time he didn't go down to Clement Street with me, I will never forgive him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, trust me. We heard about it, too, this past weekend, Corey and I.
Yeah, when he forced me to eat Buffalo Wild Wings and whatever other chicken.
Hey, I did not. That was not me. I was raising canes. I would not have forced Buffalo Wild Wings, but oh gosh, that is. Don't worry, Jake. We'll have a great time.
I cannot wait. Can't wait.
It's fine. No big deal. Whatever. All right, let's get into it. Open number 8 happened this past weekend in Albuquerque, New Mexico. As Jake said, we were there. It was a great event. It was a smallish, not the smallest, but smallish. It was also round limited, which we'll get into later when we talk about what you guys want for the future of cornhole, because Jake and I, we love it. I mean, we had a great time that round limited. Saturday, it was like a 3-hour max stream. We had so much time. We played games, cornhole games. Like, we actually got to throw bags, and it was just something special. Anyways, singles went to Zach Aiken, doubles Sammy Soto and Gavin Cano. Women's singles, Cheyenne Bubenheim. Women's doubles, Lori Jewell, Miranda Coy. Steve Schrader with the senior sweep. Let's go, Steve. Our truck driver also took doubles with Jerry Lockwood. Junior singles went to Cash Chamness, and junior doubles, Ethan Farias and Levi Haddock. Trey, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, a couple different things go in different directions here. First, I have a new favorite stat when I get to do these regionals here in Rock Hill, that we have an open winner that has yet to ever win a singles regional in the Rock Hill area. So Zach Aiken, really great to see kind of him get across the finish line. This is one of those players that for time and time again I talked about. He's just he puts a lot of bags in the hole. Someone that has continuously been number 1 in PPR in the Rock Hill area, but hasn't been able to get that signature victory. The thing about Zach, what I find very interesting, is that although he is a high PPR guy, he does balance that with those secondary shots, a roll, a push, if you will, in sometimes an airmail. So he is someone that I think has the tools to be very successful. When you start trying to build a prototypical player, what you want someone that can run a lot of bags in the hole, can throw an 11.2 PPR in a game, but then also when they face defensive players can be able to handle that. And I think that's what we see out of Zach Aiken. It's impressive and kind of a sigh, a weight off the shoulders for Zach, for him to finally get that signature singles victory. And so we'll see if this is momentum to come. I also think look, he is a junior pro player. He doesn't get automatic bids into every single pro bracket. But I will say, I think he has a chance to be in that rookie of the year race, even though, not a true pro player, not in that main pro division on that main pro tour, but he is in the junior pro tour. So I think, he is eligible for that award. So it's going to be interesting to see if he is someone that competes for that later on. Into doubles, Sammy Soto and Gavin Cano. I really look, these two are having a really great 2 or 3 months. If there's anything negative I can say about them right now, is that maybe Sammy Soto kind of peaking at the wrong time. Now, if he can keep it going throughout the entire year, then fantastic. Right now, he's playing like the best player in the world. I don't know if I'm ready to put that label on him right now, but he's right there. And the key for him is just continuing to ride this as we get into the signatures coming up starting in April. Gavin Cano, sneakily, when you look at the all-time ACL titles now, 6 open doubles titles. You're talking about getting amongst the greats, the all-time greats in that category. So someone that is continuing to show time after time that they can win doubles with any partner at any time. And certainly Soto and Cano, we already talked about them in contention for team of the year. They don't need to change anything. And if anything, they need to make sure nothing does get changed is my focus for those two. Other names that stick out to me, it's great to see Steve Schrader continue to win at that level. I think still we have this weird toss-up in the senior pro tour going on right now that you never know who's going to win what. Cheyenne Bubenheim starting to get into a rhythm now. Like I saw the first half of the year, she wasn't winning everything. And she wasn't winning a lot, to be honest with you, when it comes on the women's side. Now she's starting to get in that groove, and I think that's scary when we talk about getting into the signature side of things. Lori Dool and Miranda Coy, again, a duo that we know is going to play at a high level. We talked about Miranda. Is this going to be the year where she can actually contend with Cheyenne Bubenheim as one of those top women? Would it be 1-2 like it was last year, and would Miranda be able to challenge her? So overall, impressive weekend. Great to see Mark Richards there in the finals again. I've been preaching for consistency. He now has multiple open wins and has made the finals again in another event, exactly where he wants to be. A lot of these big name players are revving up and getting into form right before the signatures, and I think that's got to be exciting for a lot of the fans of the best players in the world.
All right, you almost said Zach Aiken as one, and I kind of like it. Like Zakin, should he be Zakin?
Zakin, yeah, Zakin. There you go. It's like his nickname.
Yeah, it should be his nickname. All right, Jake, who are you looking at?
Yeah. Shout out Zagan. Great performance. It was really fun to watch. It was kind of weird though, because leading up to the overall finals, it kind of felt like it was Mark Richards' tournament to lose, especially because he was the 1 seed in his bracket. Tony Smith was the 2 seed. We all assumed that they would play each other in the winners bracket final, but Tony Smith lost earlier. So, I mean, no disrespect to any of his opponents, but Mark Richards kind of just walked right through to the championship game of his bracket. Shout out to Josh Quinn for taking him to game 2 in that championship match. Josh Quinn's another interesting player we need to look out for in the future. National doubles champion, came up just short on the singles side as well. But yeah, like the whole broadcast, we were talking about Mark Richards. Like, I mean, if he gets this win, he's going to tie Trey Birchfield for the most titles of all time. Right now, he's tied with Matt Guy and Jamie Graham. We made a graphic and everything. Corey accidentally put it on the screen. I had to take it back real quick now. Or was it? Was it Chase? It may have been Chase.
It was definitely Chase.
Chase put it on the screen, and everybody thought the ACL was scripted, but it ended up working out okay because Zach Aiken ended up winning the whole thing. But man, it's just so cool to see another kid from that Rock Hill area win a big tournament, because we saw that happen with Jackson Gore earlier in the year. I mean, he's been on a tear down there. So now we'll see Zach Aiken do well. We saw Josiah Arguin in Biloxi, Mississippi. Man, I'm telling you that Rock Hill area is incredible when it comes to cornhole. I'll save doubles for last, but, looking through everything else, Cheyenne Bubenheim, no surprise there. She had to do it the hard way. She lost her very first game of the bracket in women's singles, had to come all the way back through and double dip. Lori Dool, Miranda Coy, didn't get to see a lot of them play, but they looked very impressive from the few shots that I did see. So shout out to them. Steve Schrader, no surprise. I mean, he's going to all of these events. He's got to start winning some of them eventually. You got to think, right? Truck driver Steve, moving down the actually, when I made my preview, it's funny. I actually picked Zach Aiken to win junior singles, and I think he finished second overall in that. So I should have just moved that up to pro elite singles. I would have looked like an absolute genius. So that's on me for not doing that. But man, Cash Shamness, what a run by him! It is so fun to watch these little kids throw, especially a 9-year-old like Cash Shamness. But I know, Michelle, you alluded to it on one of the live streams on Sunday, just him getting tired because he had a great run in pro elite singles on Sunday as well, but it's almost like he just gets tuckered out because he's only 9 years old, so he gets tired and can't finish. But I'm telling you, he is coming fast. Look out for Cash Shamness. Emax and Levi Haddock get the junior doubles title. That was a really good team, tough team to beat. But yeah, going on to doubles, man. Sammy Soto was exceptional the entire day on Saturday. Him and Gavin are a great pairing, and I think truly they will be a top 3 team at the end of the year. I couldn't tell you the last time that Gavin Cano got outplayed in a tournament, but he was on Saturday because that's how good Sammy Soto was the entire day. I thought if he could have kept that up, he was going to smoke everybody in singles, but we all know how hard that can be. Now, I do have one question for you guys on the doubles side. Where are Mark Richards and Tony Smith? Where are they? They've both won singles titles this year, and they were the 2 highest odds on DraftKings. Tony Smith had the best odds. Mark Richards had the second best odds on pro singles. Yet they're nowhere to be found on the doubles side. The team finished tied for team of the year last year with Jeremiah Ellis and Ryan Hart. They've taken down numerous tournaments, but they have done jack squat this season. Why? I don't know. Somebody needs to figure that out and tell me. Because right now they're tied for 12th with 4 different teams. You want to compare Mark Richards and Tony Smith to a Chad Hunt and a Tommy Sliker, who are also tied for 12th right now? Do you think Jordan Kamba and Eric Zockline are better than Tony Smith and Mark Richards right now? Personally, I don't think they are. But the way the standings play out, that's what's showing up. These two need to get their heads out of their asses and throw the damn bag like they know how to do, or you can kiss goodbye any chance of them winning a signature or even coming close at this point. As it sits right now, this team does not scare me, and I have no reason to believe that they will perform well together when the signature season starts. Sure, keep winning singles brackets, win your opens, whatever on the singles side. But when y'all go 1-2 or 2-2 the day before on doubles, what is that saying about your chemistry? It's saying that it's not good. You got to figure something out or start thinking about who you're going to play with next season. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Mic drop.
I wish I could get the Stephen A. Smith meme where he just says, guess what? We don't care. We don't care. Because you know what? That's exactly what Tony Smith would say in this situation. What Mark would give us a very eloquent, we got to play, we're just,
we're working on, we're practicing, we're getting in our reps, preparing.
Tony would say, we don't care what you have to say, Jake. You can go
Sure.
You go walk through New Orleans some more. Go walk another mile is probably what they say. Because this is what they don't care. Because, you know why? Because there is a 0% chance that Mark Richards and Tony Smith are not atop that leaderboard. Now, whether they're number 1 on that leaderboard when it comes double standings halfway through this pro season, they're 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever it is, they're not going to be 12th. I can tell you that right now because I truly believe that there's something in Tony Smith's brain that just flips when it's time to show up. Right. And Mark is showing continuously that he is showing up. Now, I'll say this much. If you're trying to set the seed and plant the seed, like, is this, do they actually have better partners in the future that could better suit their need? All right. I can see you laying that groundwork, Jake. I can see it. That's a little bit of a Wally that you're pulling right there, trying to plant those seeds. But I can see it, right? Because I do think we've always advertised them as this odd couple, right? This pair that doesn't make a whole lot of sense together. And, I can see a world in which they have better personality matches. But regardless, I have zero doubt in my mind that in the end, they're going to be just fine come signature season.
So you mentioned that Tony Smith, he flips a switch when it's time to perform. Why is that flip not already switched at one of these opens? These opens count towards your pro standings and pro points. So are you saying that they just don't care about these tournaments, that they're traveling thousands of miles to attend?
I'm not Tony Smith. I'm just telling you how he works.
I don't know.
I'm not saying it's the right mentality. I'm just
I don't even
telling you what the
necessarily think
mentality is.
I don't think it's conscious, honestly. I don't think it's a conscious choice. I think it's some sort of subconscious thing that changes.
What you're telling me? You're telling me when a pro walks into the building and sees the big old TV broadcast court, and they know that day that they're going to make it to TV and make double the money, that there isn't some level of extra anticipation and excitement. It's not that he's saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying there is an extra switch that is flipped, and here's a perfect example of that. That is who Jacob Trzynski was until this season. But Jacob has been able to figure out how to flip that switch every single time he goes out there. Tony Smith, intentionally, unintentionally, subconsciously, whatever, is not that switch isn't flipping when he goes to an open. Now, when he shows up at a pro event, you can see it because he has one bad game. You talk to Tony Smith. Hopefully you get to go to another open event that he is at before the signatures. When he loses, go talk to him. He's going to be like, yeah, wasn't my day.
Okay, well,
and you talk to Tony Smith when he loses at a signature. It's excuse after excuse. And it's not, I'm not saying that because he's an excuse guy. What I'm saying is you can tell in his head that it means so much more that he's like, the only reason I didn't lose this is because of this or because of that. Like you can tell there's a lot more passion in there that has to do with it. And some guys are just big game hunters. That's just who they are intrinsically.
We'll agree to disagree. I don't know. It's frustrating for me as a Cornhole fan who thinks that Tony Smith and Mark Richards should be destroying everybody, every man. I know they're not going to do that, but I mean, I think they got to do better than 1-2 or 2-2 at some of these opens. That's just me. Like I don't know, because you're not going to have any, chemistry going towards that signature season. You're not going to know what it's like to have to perform. Okay, that was last year. That was 6-7 months ago. You're talking about months and months ago. The first signature is right around the corner, and their best finish so far this season is what, 7th in a bracket?
Well, I think Mark Richards knows what Trey is saying. I think that's why their chemistry will be fine. I think if Mark Richards didn't know that, he would be very worried because we know how his mentality is. But I think he's thinking exactly what Trey's saying. He's like, it's fine. He's going to turn it on when it matters, and that works for them.
You know what, though? If you're right, Jake, it'll be some great TV. It'll be some great TV if you're right. Because
we'll see what happens.
All right, let's play it out. Let's play this scenario. Okay, 3 events in, they're averaging 8th in their bracket, right? Do you think we see some type of chaos happening? Do they try to find other partners mid-season? Do they? What is the path?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's why I'm trying to bring this up now, because if they don't figure something out, what is the next step? Because you can't switch partners in the middle of the season. Then you're just destroying any chance you have towards the end of the season.
People do it all the time.
Okay, lower tier teams do it all the time. I'm talking like bottom of the barrel teams do it all the time. Not
I saw some guy named Devin Harbaugh do it.
Yep.
About a year and a half ago.
Okay.
He's no bottom of the barrel. Are you saying he's bottom of the barrel, Jake?
If we're pulling these cards, and I can't win this scenario. If we're pulling out these cards, then I can't win this.
Hey, I'm interested. I'm ready to watch. Let's watch it happen.
I am too. And I say this every time I say something crazy on the show. I love to be proven wrong, but as it sits right now, they've given me nothing to look forward to. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say here. So we'll see what happens. Do I think they're going to finish?
Every other top pro in the pro division is like, will somebody shut Jake Brandon the hell up, please?
They don't want them to be better.
Shut him up.
Exactly.
Look, we'll see. Do I think they're going to finish 12th this season? No, but You never know. You never know.
Prove it. Okay, got it. Show up.
Prove it.
Prove it.
You prove it, sure.
Going
Make me the most hated. Make me the most hated guy in cornhole. Prove it.
Well, one of us has to be the Gordon Ramsay, so it's fine. Buy or sell. Let's get into it. Nobody will catch up to Logan Dupler in the Rookie of the Year race. Trey.
I mean, I'm going to sell it. I mean, I just look, whether or not Logan Dupler wins the Rookie of the Year, fine, but I don't think he's got this as a shoo-in. I mean, yes, everything that we've seen so far now counts this year, and that's new this year, which we like. We like that opens are now contributing toward this MVP race and Rookie of the Year race. But the fact of the matter is, the most important events are ahead of us, right? You can't crown an MVP just on the Open. So if you're giving me Logan Dupler versus the field right now, and we haven't even hit signature number one, and I'd argue Dupler doesn't even have that big of a lead over someone like a Zakin, right? Then I can't say for sure that that's a buy. So I'll sell for now. I won't say not a chance, but I will say sell.
Okay, Jake.
Yeah, I was all over buying it until I wasn't aware that junior pros are eligible. So now I'm moving it closer to a soft buy because you have players like Zach Aiken and players like a Cash Shamness who can come out of the woodworks and take it down. But I mean, I'm not super impressed by this year's rookie class either. I mean, you got Logan Dupler, you have Matt Wilson, you have Gary Bearpaw, and then how far down do you have to look through the list to find the next rookie? I'm not super impressed by it, but like Trey alluded to, the most important tournaments are to come. We're not even halfway through the season yet. If you're a betting man, it's obviously clear you take the field. But with how well Dupler has been playing, is another thing. Is he peaking too early? Like, we have months and months of this season to come. So has he played his best cornhole of the season already, and will he slowly start to dip down, or will he keep that constant pace and nobody will catch up to him? It's hard to tell, but from knowing him locally and seeing him play locally all the time, I think there's a chance that he keeps this up. So I'm going to buy it hesitantly.
Okay. Caitlin Allshouse is pulling into the number 2 female spot behind Cheyenne. Trey.
Love what Caitlin's doing. It's been a refreshing face to see someone break out here and do well. But there's no way I'm buying this right now. I have not seen Caitlin Allshouse on the biggest stage of our sport yet, right? And the only way you're going to take that crown away is if I see you 1, 2, 3 different times on the biggest stage in our sport. So until then, I got to put a big pause on buying that.
Jake?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely selling that. Just on the top of my head, Sarah Cassidy, Kaylee Hunter, Lori Dole, Miranda Coy. I mean, those are all top females who not only have been around the game for a while, but have played on those big stages and know what it takes to get those wins. Caitlin hasn't done that yet. It's not taking anything away from her. She's just inexperienced compared to some of these ladies. So it's really hard to put her in that 2 slot right now, especially with ladies like Sarah Cassidy, who I think is a second best woman in cornhole right now.
Sammy Soto is in the lead for MVP this year. Trey.
Yeah, I think it's a razor-thin race, which is where we want it to be right now going into the signature season. But at this point, the season ended today, yeah, I'd probably give it to him. I think Mark Richards is up there in the conversation. I think Devin Harbaugh is in there. I think even Jacob Trzynski is in that conversation as well as someone that is up there. But right now, he's won at both the singles and the doubles level. He's done it multiple times. He looks like one of the best players, if not the best player in the world right now. I'm fine giving it to him right now. I'll buy it that at this moment, he would be the MVP.
Jake?
Yeah, I said I could see myself buying this as well for the same exact reasons that Trey gave him. It's so close at the top of the leaderboard because you got players like Jacob Trzynski and Mark Richards, but you also have players like Jackson Gore. It's a really cool stat. Through 8 opens, nobody has repeated as an open singles winner yet. Jackson Gore was the closest because he won it in Richmond, and then he made it to the overall finals in Myrtle Beach, losing to, of course, Sammy Soto. So I think there's probably like 5 or 6 people that we could put up there, but I could very easily give Sammy Soto a little bit of an edge because he has a singles and an open doubles title so far.
Adam Hisner and Trey Birchfield will not make top 5 this year. Trey.
Look, I'll actually buy it And the reason I'm going to buy it is because Trey Birchfield and Adam Hissner were not a top 10 team last year, and they won the world championship. So if you're saying, Trey, are we going to get another season of them ebbing and flowing? In one tournament, they look like crap, and the other one, they look like the best team in the world? I can't even fight you on that because, again, we talk about big game hunters. Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. But when they have it, they're going to have it. I think it would be a harder thing for me to sell if you were telling me they weren't going to win a big event this year. I think they will win a big event this year. Whether or not they earn enough points to be considered a top 5 team, I'll probably actually buy that they come a little bit short of that.
Jake?
Yeah, same thing. I'm buying that. And, I mean, you could ask me, why aren't you holding the world champions Adam Hissner and Trey Birchfield to as high of a standard as you're holding to Mark Richards and Tony Smith? And I'll tell you, because last year they finished 17th in pro doubles. They had that ebb and that flow. They would perform well, and then they wouldn't do well at all. So until they can master that fine line of consistency, I can't imagine putting them anywhere in the top 5, much less top 10. I mean, I think I'd probably slot them in right around that 8, 9, 10 spot right now. But, until the signature start, it's kind of hard to tell. But, yeah, I don't see them being a top 5 team right now.
We will see 3 pro partner changes this season. Trey.
This is an interesting one. I'm actually going to buy this. And the reason is because I believe, now, whether or not enough players did this, but Jake made an interesting comment earlier that I mostly agreed with, but there is a loophole in that you can't really change teams or players mid-season. Correct. But let's take someone that played with their pro partner in 2 opens, and they got a decent amount of points. For the rest of the way, they chose to continue to go to open events while their pro partner decided not to do so. And so because of that, they ended up getting a couple a couple appearances in open events with another partner. Let's say 2 with a different partner. And we get through signature number 1, and their original pro partner, there is no chemistry. They're not doing well. They're not playing well. In theory, you could see that team switch, right? And that team find that second partner because your 4 best signatures and your 2 best opens count. So if you go into the signature season having already 2 opens under your belt with 2 different partners, then in theory, the first 2 signatures don't really mean that much, right? Because in theory, you could play one with each partner to see who you like throwing better with. Now, I don't think that's the strategy of anybody at the top, right? If this format continues for years to come, do we see that level of strategic play by some of these players saying, I'm going to play a couple opens with a couple different people, see who I like best, and then make a decision on who my partner is come the signature time? That could make for something very interesting. So because of that, it would not surprise me if we see a handful of players switch at the end of this first, maybe at the end of the second signature this year. I'll buy it.
Jake?
I'm not going to lie. I think Trey may have convinced me on that one because I had sold that. I had sold that initially, but I mean that's a great strategy, right? If you're someone who likes to travel and go to all of these opens while your pro partner stays home, and you build this chemistry with other players and you get good finishes, and then you go with that first signature and you don't perform well at all, it makes sense, right? It makes a lot of sense. I hate to bring it back up, but take Eric Davis, man. He's won 2 open doubles titles with 2 completely different partners. And then he played with Matt Sorrells, his pure pro partner in Biloxi, Mississippi, and I don't think they performed well at all. So while I'm not 100% saying that they are going to switch, does that start churning some gears in the brain of Eric Davis about what he wants to do the rest of the season? Absolutely, because I'll tell you what, he won one of those opens with Tony Smith. So you never know. You never know. So, yeah, I think I can see myself buying that now too. That's a really good point that I never even thought of.
Yeah, let me go through some of these. Let's go even further down this rabbit hole. Here are teams that have a bracket win right now, which means they have maxed out 1 open. but they don't have the second open, right? So they would just need to necessarily get another open before the end of the year. Gavin Cano and Ryan Trader. Okay, that's an interesting one. Noah Almanza and Riker Wells. You talked about a rookie that would be off your radar that someone could come in and actually win. Tony Forbes and Emax, Ethan Farias. Eric Davis and Ryan Wiedenfeld. Eric Davis and Tony Smith. Gage Landis and Logan Dupler, right? These are players that you look at. I mean, if I'm one of those guys, do I say, hey, if I'm Tony Smith, right? Let's go way down Jake's rabbit hole now. Do I call Eric Davis and go, hey, you want to go to Michigan and play together? Mark's not going. Just in case, to see if something happens.
I mean, it's possible. Look, I would advocate it all the way to just to help me prove myself right. I would love to see it happen. It would be pretty cool.
All right, I got a bonus buy or sell that only Jake can really answer. But Moonshine Steve has the best moonshine on the planet. Jake.
I mean, I gotta sell it. I mean, personally, for me, it was a fantastic moonshine. But I'll tell you what, that apple pie moonshine Mama Kelly Brandon makes and brings to those Ravens tailgates when it's cold outside, we warm it up on the grill. Warm apple pie moonshine is incredible, and I will die on that hill.
All right,
warm moonshine. I might pass on that.
Nobody does until you try it. I'm telling you, it tastes like apple pie. Tastes like apple pie.
It was pretty good. Moonshine Steve, appreciate you. We enjoyed that on our last day in New Mexico. All right, let's get into the listeners. We asked you, tell us about the future of Cornhole. Luke Blanchett said, no more round limited, focus more on regionals, conferences, and state tournaments, and make points worth something. And before I hand it to you, Trey, Luke, no, we love round limited.
I mean, just one thing real quick. If I see someone who doesn't like round limited, I will show them what happened this past weekend in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was probably one of the most fun tournaments I've ever called in my life. The championship game came down to the very final round. It was insane. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
So I guess I have to put on the ACL hat here and respond to this. So look. Okay, so the second. So what I would say is everything in this comment is feedback heard, listened, and I would say change coming on both fronts, right? No more round limited. I don't think round limited gets abolished, but we've certainly heard plenty of the feedback about how the player experience for some round limited events is not as fun or not as enjoyable, right? Because for directors and live streamers, and I think the audience, I think round limited can be a lot of fun and it can be very interesting. Where it gets not interesting is for players. And so what happens is the people that also don't like watching round limited, what I found are generally players of the game. They go, well, no, this isn't how Cornhole is played. So because of that, I already have this bias watching it that I don't like it because I don't like playing it, right? The other contributing factor is, when someone plays round limited, sometimes people are saying they're playing less total, right? They're getting less time and less games in. I think there's an argument to be made. It's really not that less, but the fact of the matter remains, you could end up playing less than normal. So I would say as we look forward, there is a very strong likelihood that round limited play is reallocated to a more appropriate space, for a lack of a better way to put it, until more details are brought forth. Now, on the focus on growing more regionals, conferences, and state tournaments, I totally agree. I think you're going to hear in the future, and I can't divulge too much, but the ACL, I've spent a lot of time and I worked with a lot of our executives on our team to really shape the new 5-year plan of the ACL. And as we look back on the previous 5 years, we're really proud of a lot of things that we built. And we're also really encouraged as we look forward to the opportunity to build other things, right? I thought we built a really big pro division. We've made the ACL a household name. We've put on some of the best events in the world. We've paid out a lot of money to a lot of top players. We brought in sponsors to the game. We've secured network deals. A lot of those things that I just talked about are really good bragging points. And I think there's legitimate feedback to be had that a lot of those are focused on the top level of the game. And I think we've done a good job of laying that groundwork. And this isn't to say we made a mistake by prioritizing the wrong thing. I would disagree, because in order to get the exposure and the notoriety that you need to start somewhere. And for us, it was building that top level of the game after we got some baseline of players, and we did a really good job of doing that. But as we transition and look forward, the next stage of growth for the ACL and the way that we make cornhole an international phenomenon through the ACL is through growing the grassroots efforts of the game. And it's whether it's, tournament formats, directors, technology, players, memberships, cornhole operations, as I like to call it. All of that will be a forefront of focus, and people should really be excited about the things that are going to be coming here in the next couple months, and there'll be some big announcements to come soon.
All right. Doug said, at the professional level, scaling down the number of pros is certainly a step in the right direction. The next phase in the growth of the game will be entertainment value. Multiple live stream courts for broadcasts. Court 2 could be dedicated to matches decided by fan vote. Roaming streamer to catch some wild match on court 32 and then goes to another match on court 24. So having more cornhole to watch. Jake, you're a live streamer. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear Jake's take, and I'll give mine.
You're muted, Jake. I'm sure what you're saying is fantastic.
My fault.
There we go.
No, I mean, Wally and I have both touched on this previously. I really enjoy the idea of doing all that, of having women, because we've done, 4 live stream courts at one event and have had 4 different live feeds going at the same time. And some have said that it works. Some have said that it doesn't work. Now, if we could, the problem has always been staffing. Like, if we could have 5 or 6 extra commentators to just roam the field and go to different courts and live stream, that would be freaking awesome. I would be all over that.
I don't think it's equipment that's the problem, Jake.
I mean, well, yeah, equipment as well, but staffing and equipment are kind of go hand in hand. But I mean, I think it would be awesome. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to put this into words. Like, is it feasible right now? No. But could it be feasible within the next couple of years? Absolutely. You just gotta, you gotta bear with us and work with us as we try to bring this organization and this sport as a whole through the grind. But once we get to that plateau, once we reach that top, anything is possible. So I love that idea, and I think that it could work out really well in the future.
Trey?
Yeah. Look, I mean, we kind of tried something like this in the past. I mean, Michelle was kind of there at the early days of doing 4 live stream courts, right? Those 4 live stream courts were in one way great, in other ways were a lot. We were a bear to deal with, right? What we found is the more we spread viewers out, the less aggregate total we got people to care and tune in. I think everybody would love to hear this directly from me, and that I think the ACL, to an extent, we need to get back to a little bit more of the basics and doing things really, really well and doing it on one live stream court and in every other way. Don't overcomplicate it, right? There's no need to bring in 4 different courts with all these different bells and whistles and watch this. It gets confusing, and I understand that. And sometimes we try to get ahead of ourselves and create all these new things that are really exciting to us, and then people don't understand it, right? So for us, I think we're content right now. Now, if our audience grows in a massive way over the next few years, I think what Jake has alluded to could be possible. But for us, let's make one stream really, really cool. And at the Signatures, 2 streams, but there's a reason for that in our ESPN contract. We do that on purpose. So, again, there's ways that we can expand it.
All right, Dylan, I personally think once all pros can quit their day jobs and just be a pro, we will make people want to try harder for it, meaning the elite program will garner more attention and create better competition. And as time progresses and sport grows, increase the number of pros slightly every once in a while, but where budget allows, would love to see tons more high schools and bigger colleges also turn towards adding cornhole to possibly create a breeding ground for better players. I think that's kind of music to your ears, right?
Ditto.
Trey?
Yeah, ditto. Like I don't disagree with that, right? I think here's the other thing too is that I think a lot of people don't realize when you start something, for the general public to make aware of it, it takes a long time to see that be successful. And it takes a long time for even if you make a decision, to see the results of that decision is a big deal. I'll give you one example. I took over the ACL college program a little over a year ago now. I think it was a year and 1 month. It was last January. Okay. At that time, we had 0 official ACL college clubs, right? Now we have about 40, right? Every viewer at home, when they see how many schools have ACL college, you'd say, oh, not that many, right? I see Winthrop on TV, they win everything, but it's just Winthrop that did this one thing. But we've legitimately set up 40 different schools. A year from now, where are we going to be? Are we going to be at 80? Are we going to be at 100? Maybe we'll just be at 50. That number, you don't start noticing that until it actually happens, right? If people want to see a change made in our format or in our technology, right? You don't know when the ACL started on those changes until they get released, right? But they're not going to get released, right, as soon as we have the idea to do so. So what I would say is, there's a lot of things that we work on for long-term plans, and there's changes that we want to make, and sometimes we have to make short-term pivots, but most of the time, a lot of what we think about are long-term decisions. So Dylan, I don't disagree with you at all. I think you have a great plan and a great mentality of how we grow the next phase of the sport, but getting there requires not one big quick decision, but a series of decisions that have long-term effects over the span of a couple of years.
Absolutely. Craig said, push a star for cornhole, similar to the PGA. Before Tiger, only a few players made money. Sport was profitable, but not what it is today. They were smart enough to push him as a superstar, and everybody got rich to the bottom of the roster pros, to the sponsors of the league, and obviously Tiger becoming one of the wealthiest athletes ever. So, yeah, I mean, a cornhole star. What do you think, Jake?
I mean, I think it could work. Absolutely. I'm not muted. I'm good this time.
Nope, you're good.
I think absolutely. I think it can work. I think this is a really interesting idea. Now, can it work as well as it did with Tiger Woods and the PGA? Maybe.
Do we have
question, one? That was my next point. The question is, do we have a superstar that is not only great at the game of cornhole, but is charismatic, is good in front of the camera, can push brand deals, can push these sponsorships, and knows what he's doing at the same time. Now, could we train somebody to do that? Absolutely. But I mean, I feel like I would want it to come from somebody who does it naturally. Like thinking about the pro roster, we have players like Jeremiah Ellis. He's got that charisma. He knows how to fire up a crowd. I mean, you got players like Mark Richards, who is excellent on the microphone when talking to him. If we could and then you got, young talent like, and I'm trying to think like a Cash Stamnis. Everybody loves Cash Stamnis.
Braden Wilson's good on camera.
Braden Wilson's good. So if we could take like a fusion of Braden Wilson and Jeremiah Ellis and Mark Richards, combine them together to make a Jeremiah Braid shirts. Yep. That would be perfect. And we could advertise the heck out of him and become just like the PGA. But it's kind of hard because, it's kind of hard to find those kind of characters in the sport of cornhole. So while I think it's a great idea, we got to figure out where we can start from that and then build from there.
Trey?
Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts here because I feel like I've said this till I'm blue in the face, and I say it a lot to our pro players. I say the first player who makes $10 million from cornhole will be a social media star, regardless of what their talent is. If you look at what Tiger Woods did, he transcended a sport in a time and in a way that was relevant to that particular sport, okay? You cannot replicate what Tiger Woods has done for the sport in that particular instance. In today's game, because we are in a different space with the sport, and with our society. Now, I would say, could we find a Caitlin Clark, right? Could we find someone that transcends the game in that way, right? And she does it, one, by being the most dominant player ever, right? We haven't had a true athlete dominate our sport year after year like someone has. So it requires that. And it requires someone that can lean in to the social media side of things, okay? I don't care if you win 10 straight signature events. If you are not active in pushing good content on social media, then you will not be successful. I would urge that if you really think you have the potential to be the greatest of all time in the sport of cornhole and you have that longevity, the next $10,000 that you make, I would dedicate towards hiring a videographer and a social media manager and doing all the things to push continuous content out there, because that is what takes it to the next level. And it's not like posting once a week on your Instagram. It's posting on Facebook. It's posting on Instagram. It's posting on TikTok, on X, on YouTube. It's doing video. It's doing photo. It's a full-time job. And it is hard. And I'm not saying it's easy. I mean, it's not. But if you're asking, how do we get the next Tiger? How do we get the Tiger Woods of our sport? It has to be someone that is both dominant in our sport and someone who is a social media phenom. Those are the keys to success. And then it's easy from our perspective. Then we push them through the PR channels and it's done. It's sold.
They have to be,
right?
They have to be a star. They have to be a star. So you can be a star on the courts, but you're not a star if nobody outside of our world knows who you are. So you have to have both. You got to be a star, and then you got to let people know you're a star. And to me, that's the formula. And I don't think you have to have the social media skill. I don't think you have to learn how to do it. You got to hire someone, and you got to hire someone good. And that will be the best money you could ever spend. Like, that will come back tenfold. And we're such a new sport that nobody's done it yet. Like, to me, if I was really good at cornhole, I would be all over this. Like, it would be.
Now, one thing I would say,
all my money.
Yeah, and one thing I'll wrap this up with, a lot of people would see this response and be like, well, do it for them. Well, I can't do that for them because, one, I have barely enough staff to run our own social media. However, there's a lot of reasons why the ACL chose to get down to 100 core pro players. It's not the only reason, but some of those reasons means it is easier to provide support to 100 dedicated people who are saying, I want to do this as a job and I want to make this my full-time career. It is easier to mold those people than to spread your resources across 250 players that have varying levels of dedication and input into the game. So I'll leave with that as the closing thought.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Well, we've got more. We'll keep going next time, but we got to get into our hot takes. Trey, what do you got?
Hot takes. I'm going to have some fun this weekend. I'll say, as we go to New Orleans, that Dion Dawkins finally gets over the hump and wins himself one of these events because he has played in 3 of them and he is over 3. So the hot take is Dion Dawkins gets it done this week.
He deserves it. Come on, Dion. We're rooting for you. All right, Jake.
I like it. My hot take also for this weekend, when we go bar hopping on Bourbon Street, I'm going to take a picture of every place we stop and send it to Michelle, and Michelle will block my phone number from her phone by the 5th stop. By the 5th stop. That's when Michelle.
I don't even have your phone number.
Well, I got it. We'll FaceTime her. We'll FaceTime her, Jake.
So rude. This is so rude.
That's my hot take. By the 5th stop place we stop at, she will block us.
I hate both of you. My hot take is we were talking about partner changes and things like that. The reason I brought the topic up is because I don't like Ethan Walker, Cody Henderson as partners. I don't like it. I think Ethan Walker makes a change. I think he should make a change. I don't think they have chemistry. Ethan Walker, you're the one. All right, guys, that's all we got time for. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you tune in for the Super Bowl experience happening this week, the whole week, and leading up to the Friday night. Trey, is that correct?
Yep.
Friday night. And we'll see you guys all next time.